Welcome to this week's podcast episode. I've brought on Andy Contiguglia. Andy, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Andy is actually, we met 8 or 9 years ago when I was in paralegal school, but he is a business owner and attorney here in Denver. Yeah, Andy, if you want to dive into that.
I think we were talking before we started. How long ago was it that I was teaching you over at back in your paralegal days?
It was back in
years ago?
It was like
9 years ago?
09, so 8 or yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
How time flies.
Right?
And look how big you've become.
Yeah. But give the listeners a little more about you. Where do you live? And dive more into this legal practice that you're doing.
Yeah, you bet. So I am the owner of the Contiguglia law firm here in Denver, Colorado. And I try to focus my practice primarily in helping business owners, with both the setup of their businesses. My objective is to help all business owners from startup through the success of their company to, separation from their company if they ever want to sell it. I try to sort of promote this idea of preventative law, a concept of helping people avoid legal problems down the line. I believe that, learning from others and protecting your business on the front end can keep you from having trouble later on in the back end, so to speak. So that's sort of my philosophy when it comes to working with business owners, is keeping them out of trouble. I don't like to be called when the trouble has happened. I want to help you avoid the trouble from the very beginning. Right.
And for the client's sake, they'd much rather know in the beginning than have to call you.
Absolutely. I think, what I tell people all the time is if you find out that you need a lawyer, it's too late. It's better to have somebody on your team at the beginning of all of this. I mean, it's interesting, we all hire accountants, we hire coaches, we, get business advisors and things like that. But the one thing that everybody forgets is, to include a lawyer in your team of your business and, from the startup, so you don't have legal issues down the line. And that's really, that's where I come in. I want to help people so they don't ever need me. I hope that you never need me. I want to help you so you don't need me.
And on that note, what we're really discussing today is, I know you have so many balls in the air. You're a husband and a father and a businessman, and you're trying to do your own stuff and take care of you. And can you talk more about this whole creating balance in this imbalance that you're in?
Well, I think that's a really great question. It's tough for me. I think balance, I try and do things to help myself, create this, aura of balance around me. And it has been really difficult for me to put these parameters in place. So for me, when I leave and I go home, and the moment I walk in the door at 6 o'clock at night, my phone is off. In fact, when I change out of my work clothes and get into sweats and things like that, I will take my cell phone and I will lock it away in my closet, and I will leave it and go deal with my family and, manage that thing and get that out, because I still get calls, I get emails, and like many of us, I'm like addicted to the quick dopamine rush, like, ooh, who needs something now? And I want to avoid that. So I know my limitations, and I will just get that out of my life, altogether. I try and from that perspective, put that away and then manage my family. And then once everybody's, asleep, I tend to pick things back up and do things more, later in night, from like the 9 to midnight. And then I'll sleep until 5:30 in the morning, and have a little bit of me time in the morning from 5:30 to 6:30, get ready for work, out the door by 7:30, and the hustle starts again at that point. I try not to do work on the weekends, but that is something that you can't always avoid, especially if I'm involved in litigation and I have things I need to get ready. I've got depositions or something coming up on a case. I'll need that weekend time. And I'm fortunate that I have a spouse who's, very understanding of that kind of stuff. She's also a lawyer. She's a trial attorney exclusively. So she understands that these types of things come up occasionally. So for that's the real structure. And, I try not to take, business calls before 9. In fact, I have my cell phone set up so it will not, it's on a do not disturb from 9 in the morning, or until 9 in the morning. And then it goes back on at 6 o'clock at night. So calls can't come in, or they go straight to voicemail. So I'm not getting those calls. So there are things that you can do, little hacks like that to sort of manage your time. And that kind of stuff is helpful to me.
So what I'm picking up from you is you have learned to create boundaries.
That's a very good way of saying it. Yes, absolutely. Boundaries. And that's hard for somebody in my business where, every phone call is a little bit more money. Every time I need to answer an email is a little bit more time. And for a lawyer who bills by the hour, all of those things. I mean, when I don't work, I don't make money. And that's really difficult to adjust to. And, because all of us as business owners, we want to, capitalize where we can. But unfortunately, there's only so many hours in a day that you can do it. And if you put all of your time into those spaces, then you're never going to have time for yourself, never going to have time for your family, never going to have time for your kids. And so you need to decide what of these things are the most important to you. What brings you the most value?
How long did it take you? Because I'm sure you haven't always been this way. So how long did it take, or what happened for you to put these boundaries in place?
That's a real good question. So I was pretty reckless with my time for quite a long time. I think the turning point for me was in 2014. So I got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in September of 2014, and I had to go through 9 months of chemotherapy, and I was pretty much stripped from my business during that time. I did as much as I could. I tried to manage my employees as best as I could. I tried to deal with cases as best as I could. I had surrounded myself with good people who were able to sort of pick up, my slack. But what I learned during that time was, in my world, I basically got rid of all the gray. I got rid of everything that was in the middle, and it was either a yes or a no. And it was, I care about it or I don't care about it. I didn't have time to, mess around with things. It either fell into the category of, this is something that's important to me, or it fell into a category of, this is not something that's important to me. And the things that fell into the category of, this isn't important to me, I forgot about. And when you look at it where it has to be a plus or it has to be a minus, it's pretty incredible how you can really sift out and filter out all the gray in the middle. And you can really sort of define the things that are important to you. Maintaining my business was important to me. So things that fell into that category, I did. Making time for my family, that was important to me. Obviously, my health was important to me. That was probably the top tier of everything. I put that ahead of everything. I needed my time because, chemotherapy destroys you. So those are sort of the types of things that I learned through the course of that. And even now to today, here we are, several years later, knock on wood, cancer free, that I still have those categories in my mind. I've got a little clutter in the middle, but I'm trying really hard to sift things out. I'm still in a, highly competitive industry. I'm still in a highly stressful industry. Clients still demand a lot of my attention. And I need to, continue to work to find balance for me and decide, is this something I care about, or is this something I don't care about? And that really is something I try to push forward even now.
Hindsight, or what was I thinking to phrase that? The silver lining of the cancer diagnosis, and now, thank goodness, you are living healthfully. But can you look back and be like, thank God that happened. I am so grateful for that, because I was able to slow down, prioritize, and then get a comeback and kind of get a redo?
It's interesting. I don't know how the best way to describe all of that in hindsight. That's a really good question. I've never really thought about it in that respect, but I think the biggest takeaway from all of it is obviously, don't sweat the small stuff. And most of life is the small stuff. Do things that provide value to you, or that you can provide value to other people that are important to you. So define what's important to you and stick with the things that are important to you. Um, Getting to that point, gosh, I don't think I was headed down any type of, slide or spiral, so to speak. I was really working hard to build my business. I'm still a firm believer that the practice of law is what put me in that place to begin with. It's just, there are times that it's incredibly toxic. So even, so knowing that, I don't ever want to go back to that point. So for me, doing things like meditating and doing a lot of reading, doing things that I can find my own personal self-fulfillment,
Mm.
um, those were not things that I was doing prior to that time. I've changed eating habits and those things, and I feel overall healthier because of it. Um, and I definitely don't look at the world like I did back in 2014.
What do you think is the biggest benefit of what has meditation brought to you?
Peace. It is. I love my time to meditate, and I want to find. I like to meditate alone. I like it when nobody's bothering me. I mean, I could certainly close the door to my office and meditate, but I don't like knowing that there's other people around. I like sort of my solitude in that respect. And for me, I've done it enough now, and there's some great programs out there, but I've done it enough now where I can really get into the zone quickly, and I've extended my time. And I look forward to it. And I find these differences in terms of how I'm feeling prior to starting the meditation and afterward. And if you have the right guided meditation, you can really start thinking about the things to help you focus, to help you, de-stress, to help you, get rid of pain. All three of those things are, that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And it really is, where do I have to prioritize in that respect to move it forward? There have been times that I've meditated 2 or 3 times a day. If things are really stressful, like going into a trial or going to a week of depositions or something like that, or just clients who've been, very stressful and taking a toll on me. So for me, it's been, meditation's really changed my world. And I wish I knew it before. It
So
took
I
me
think,
until it took me until 2000. It took me about 6 months after beating cancer to find meditation. So end of 2015 or so.
what I want to touch on is that this is a daily stuff you're doing, right? It's not like you meditate once, you're good to go.
No, I try and work it into my schedule as much as I can. So, as I said, I'm up early in the morning. I'm up between 5 and 5:30 every morning. If I can get in a morning meditation, I'll hit that early. Sometimes I'll do it before I go to bed. That helps me sleep. I'm a horrible sleeper. So try to getting it in at the end of the day. And then if need be, during the day. I also am a firm believer in acupuncture, and I try to go to acupuncture once a week or once every other week or so. And that provides a really good outlet as well, because there's sort of a meditation component to it. You go in, you get stuck with a bunch of needles, and then the doctor leaves, turns off the lights, and you got nice music playing, and you can just sort of zone out. And if it's extremely stressful day, I'll just say, bad day, put me out, and the right placed pin, or right placed needle, I should say, get you to the right spot, and you just close off the world for an hour. And it's amazing how your body goes through and heals itself and brings you down into that. 5 years ago, I never thought for a moment I'd be talking about these types of things, but I had to go through cancer to learn this. I picked up acupuncture while I was going through my cancer treatment,
Mm.
and it helped me deal with my nausea. It helped me deal with my fatigue. I lost all the hair on my body head to toe, and I lost 30 pounds. I was just, my body was breaking down, and I needed these things to help get me through. And that time during my acupuncture was something I cherished, because it helped me feel, helped me feel rejuvenated. And it was amazing stuff. But I wish I had known that beforehand. Maybe I wouldn't have had to go through my whole cancer bit, but that was definitely something that I had to go through it to learn it.
For sure. So now that you feel like obviously your life is a lot more flowing and more in balance, and you're able to create these boundaries and prioritize so many things. What is your biggest takeaway from all of that?
Find time for yourself.
Mhm.
I think in the world, we, you know, for many of us building businesses and in this world of podcasts and this world of videos and social media and helping people get through, we want to give a lot of ourselves to people. And while I think that is very honorable to do, I think that you need to recognize that it is okay to be selfish. And I think that it's okay that you create opportunities for your own self to feel good and that you build into your days time for yourself as well. There's a reason that you have to put your own mask on an airplane before you help your child, because if you can't help yourself, there's no way that you can help other people. I think Stephen Covey, one big thing that he promotes all the time is you can't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. And that is important, that you are the goose that lays the golden egg. It's important for you to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't provide your value to everyone else. And so if you neglect yourself, you're going to be neglecting everyone else, and you become useless to everyone.
I think you are, excuse me, you are spot on with that. And I totally get that. And I mean, I'm single and I don't have children or a spouse, but I know that this me time was necessary in order for me to be ready and available to have all that other stuff to take care of.
Right. Exactly. And that's, for me building my business, and I'm trying to do a couple of other businesses on the side of all of that. I cherish the time with my family. I cherish the time with my children. But for me, building these other businesses and building my current business, I do like all my own creative, ads and videos and things like that. And, I enjoy my creative time. I love grabbing my camera and running off into the city and taking pictures and trying to create, because that gives me a really good creative outlet that I like. I enjoy blocking off an hour to go get acupuncture, block off 20 minutes to go and meditate. Those things are important to me. And, I covet that, and I take it very, very seriously. And I let people know, listen, I'm not available and I'm not going to make myself available. I try to commit to that time for myself. And I think if I think it's important to plan that as part of your master schedule for the day. Build in the time to go to the gym, build in the time to meditate, build in the time to, go do your creative, build it into your schedule, whether it's every day or whether it's once a week. Build it into your schedule and covet that time and say, nobody is going to freaking get in my way at that point, and just and be selfish in that respect. I think everybody needs to have a little bit of selfishness in their life, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to provide to anyone else.
So I can hear a listener saying, well, I mean, I don't have enough time in the day as it is. And my coach, because I remember complaining about that one time, I don't have enough time. What do you mean you want me to add more on to? And so he made me sit down, and I had to take a log of how I spent my time. And I realized how much time was wasted, whether it was social media or, I mean, whatever it may be. But there are ways to cut back, and there's plenty of time in the day to make it all happen.
Yeah, I started waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that. I used to wake up at 6. And my coach was, as we started going through, we did a similar exercise. Let's look at what you do every time during the day. When do you wake up? When do you get ready? When do you eat breakfast? When do you go to work? What do you do during these times? What can you do to maximize the amount of time that you have? And one of the things that she said was, start waking up at 5. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get enough sleep. She goes, you'll get plenty. You don't need more than 5 or 6 hours. There may be people disagree with that, but nonetheless, start waking up an hour earlier. And when I started that progress, I would wake up at 5. I added in this hour in the morning to my master schedule, which was, instead of waking up at 6, I'll wake up at 5, go outside, go for a walk for an hour, be home at 6 when everybody else is waking up, make my coffee, make everybody breakfast, get ready, get out the door at 7:15. For me, I have half-hour commute into the office, and I realized that I don't have time to read books, so I've started getting books on Audible.
Yep.
I drive a lot to court. I drive a lot to and from the office, to meetings and things like that. So I'm trying to use that time, the time that would normally be a dead time listening to, the radio and music, to consume information about, the things that are important to me, how to run a business, self-help, and all of that kind of stuff. Get to the office, do your job. And, you really need to be disciplined. You need to be dedicated to, that time that you are dedicating to a particular task. If social media and marketing is important to you, then block off that time of the day for you to do it. And when that time comes, stop what you're doing business wise, get into that, do it. And when you're done, you're done. Get as much as you can do during that time. And there are a million different ways of doing it. Pomodoro timers, just being disciplined in terms of when you start and scheduling things, and just being committed to, starting and stopping when, based on the schedule that you provide. Planning goes a long way. And I think if you can plan that time, you can really become disciplined to accomplish those goals that you need to.
I get it. I totally agree. That is great advice. I always like to kind of wrap up my podcast interviews with some rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
whatever the first thing to come to mind, you just got to spit it out.
All right.
What is a quote or motto you live by?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
That's an easy one.
That is an easy one.
What is a book you're currently reading or one you highly recommend?
I just finished Gary Vaynerchuk's Crushing It, and I'm in the middle of The Alchemist right now.
Have you read Alchemist before?
I'm in the middle of it. No,
You've never. Oh
my first time through it.
That is one of my go-tos. I read it several. I love that one. Yeah. All the universe conspires into helping you achieve it.
It's amazing. Yep.
Yeah. Andy, thank you so much for your time and coming on today.
Thanks, Heather. It's awesome to see you. I'm so happy you're doing so well. And I'm happy that you are happy, because I know the changes that you had to make in your life to get to this point. It's exciting to see you be successful and do awesome jobs for people.
Yeah. Thank you for the support.
Absolutely.